Hey you guys, I'm back. And I think I will I'm not sure if I'll upload the video on how I made my spaghetti or whatever. But I wanted to do, I don't know if this is gonna be a series called Chit Chat and Eating or Eating Chit Chat. One thing that I can say as a woman who coming out of homelessness, one thing about me is that I didn't miss no meals, right? I mean, as many times I was sitting up in IHOP, sitting up in Denny's, even if I just had like $5 on me. Like I said in my other video, I stayed busy. So I don't know. I'm grateful. That's all I can say is I'm grateful. Um, oh man, you guys. I would tell anybody, listen, Linda, listen, Larry. Stay diligent with your, know that your life is important. I think that's another thing that spoke out to me the most when I realized I had to accept it. Let's talk about acceptance for a minute. A lot of us have not accepted what is. A lot of us are going all the way around the mountain, myself included, instead of facing that thing, whatever that thing is, and saying, damn, in this case, it is what the hell it is. So for me, I didn't want to accept that there was a family crisis. I didn't, even though I can accept that there's mental illness that runs in my family, myself included, I can accept that because there's a lot of people with mental illness and that are still functional. Go to job, get up. There's very functional folks with mental disorders. There's people who got degrees with mental disorders, the schizophrenia, bipolar, crazy, all crazies, narcissistic folks. How many narcissistic? We got a president that made it all the way to the presidency. Bless his heart. Okay, being a little cuckoo, right? So when I look at life, it's not about, okay, being that I didn't want to accept the underlying issues of why it happened. I wasn't even prideful. I think for me, it was accepting that I think I had to think about it for a minute. The reason why I didn't want to accept that I was homeless, or the hardest reason why I didn't want to accept it, because I personally would think about my grandmother, my great grandmother who raised me. And my great grandmother was big, not on image. As you guys know, I don't care about image. I don't care. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. I don't care. You guys saw me in that van. I don't care what people think about what it looked like. I ain't never been one of them. But what I think for me, I didn't want to accept it because I know my grandmother had raised me better than that. And how was it? See, it wasn't the fact that I became homeless. It was what got to me was the fact that I fell off and lost motivation and lost my faith. I lost my strength. I lost the faith in me and the faith in God in other words, I had been homeless for 6 years. Now keep in mind, there's times where I was homeless for about 2 weeks, waiting for something to come through. Being a mother, I remember leaving my ex-husband and we had to stay in a hotel. I had to stay in a hotel with my babies for just about a week, waiting till my apartment got ready and things of that kind of way, so it's not about, oh my God, I'm homeless, but for 6 years, as my daughter said, that's a long time because 4 of those years, yes, part of it was the pandemic, but 4 of those years, or at least 2 of those years was a place of just not understanding how to accept what happened, not understanding that. And then again, going back to my great grandmother was that even though this woman's dead and gone, I didn't want to let her down. I didn't want to let my grandmother down because she raised me to be independent. So it wasn't so much that I was homeless, that I was out there. I felt more independent being in my van. Where I started to feel depressed and having low self-esteem is when I allowed this man, ladies, listen up. When I allowed this man to feed me a dream of him saying he would help and take care of me, and that situation turned into toxicity and verbal and psychological abuse. it wasn't until I hit that kind of rock bottom that made me realize, um just like when Whoopi Goldberg told homegirl in Ghost, when she told her, she said, "You in trouble, girl." Remember when she told, what's her name, in the movie Ghost, I forget what the girl's name was, but "You in trouble, girl." That's literally how I didn't come to the realization. See, let me put it this way: when I was out in my van and I was in my RV and I was posted up at High Hop and I was posted up at Denny's, I made it look pretty. I'd log in, I'd do this, I'd do that, and then I would return back to, because after I lost my van, I would return back to a man who was had his own mental challenges, right? And the worst thing you can do, and I think this is how a lot of people stay homeless, is the worst thing you can do is, while you're out there going through it, you team up with, hook up with other people, like the blind leading the blind. And the only way, I think, that's, thank God that it kept me from getting on drugs. I thank God that I wasn't exploited. I thank God that I knew how to keep my head up. The only things, like I said before, that kind of saved me was going out to the restaurants, not just to eat and do, whatever, finesse and everything, but it kept me up out of the trouble. But you guys, I'm telling you, as a living witness, is that, they say don't talk about it, don't go backwards. And I'm not, but I'm just saying that I didn't accept that shit had hit the fan until I said yes to the invite, which makes me now say, thank God that the men, we're talking about men, men's with an S, the men that I was dealing with, thank God that those men did not care that I was homeless. Thank you, Jesus. They didn't care, because the type of men that I would have attracted are only the type of men that would exploit me and or use me for their benefit and toss me to the side. Right? Whether these men had money, because some of them did, whether they had, but just because you have money don't mean you have character. Just because you have a roof and you had safety to provide for me didn't mean you had character, didn't mean you had God, didn't mean that matters to me. Your spiritual, your ability to serve or to be submissive to a God, a source, means the world to me. Your ability to be able to, God, Jesus, I'm so grateful in this moment right now. I have to stop, y'all. I cannot believe I'm recording in my own place. I can't believe I'm recording in my own place. I can't say it enough. I know it's a little noise in the background, but it's my noise. It's my noise. It's my noise. It's not the restaurant's noise. It's not, oh God, it's not somebody else's apartment's noise. Ay, 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 ay. Thank you for this moment, God. Thank you for this moment, this very moment. Thank you for this moment. I'm telling you, whoever needs to hear this, accept what is. Even for me, I didn't want to get angry, because I'm not one to get angry. I've never been in a fight. I've never been in a physical fight with anybody. I'm a DV survivor, but you know what I mean. I'm not one of the girls to throw them things. I got sisters that get down like that, and I mention that a lot because, again, I like knowing that, not everybody got to be a physical fighter. Some of us are spiritual. Some of us are just quiet and still is how we fight. There's so many ways to. Sometimes it's just a matter of just not doing nothing at all. In fact, the Bible says, when you've done all that you know how to do, sit still and see the salvation of the Lord. And so for me, it was also a part of, I was afraid to get angry because I didn't know what I would do. That suppression thing can be something. This is the very reason why my eldest son went through what he was going through, because he had suppressed some stuff. And then you add that with mental illness, and then it's explosive. So there was a fear that if I accept that I'm in a doo-doo situation, a shitty situation, and there's no sign of me coming out of it anytime soon, this is going to send me under. That's my biggest fear of everything, was thinking that the acceptance of where I was at, acceptance of being homeless, acceptance of being in an abusive situation, the acceptance of that was going to drive me crazy. I was afraid of I was afraid it's like when they say, when you go to therapy, right, or a psychiatrist, and you lay out on that couch, or a what's it called, a hypnotist, and they take you all the way back, that kind of Sigmund and Freud thing, right? Take you all the way back to your dreams, or what dreams you had in your childhood, and give you the meanings of stuff, and you get some of this stuff, and you do some purging, and you get some of this stuff up out of you. You might find out that what you thought you knew, you don't know, and who you thought you were, you're not. And that was the thing that I feared the most with accepting what was, is that, damn, if I accept this, that means that, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna not give a damn. I didn't know how I would react. So what put me in a place of accepting what was, I'll never forget, I was sitting on this particular man's couch. And it's interesting how things don't come to you when you're in chaos. But if you really want answers, you get to a place and you allow God, I believe the Holy Spirit, to sit with you. And I remember this feeling, this overwhelming feeling that came over me. And the feeling was, I was numb. I was super duper numb. I had already wrote out my journal, everything that I was going to write. I had already put everything in my calendar of my apartment. I had already visualized everything. I had already talked to my therapist from the rooter to the tutor of what goals I had when this thing did come to pass. I already had did the work. The mental, I'm in therapy and I'm still in therapy, obviously. The mental work, the spiritual work. I had lit candles. I had prayed. I had wrote it down and burned it. I had, this just my own little rituals. I had did everything that I knew. And I sat on the couch with this numbness. And when this man walked into the living room and said, "What's wrong with you? Why you got an attitude?" There was a part of me, of my flesh, where I wanted to snap, but I knew I couldn't snap because I would end up in prison. I'm being honest. I don't know how to say. I knew that I had reached a peak. It's kind of that thing when people say, when you get tired and sick and tired of being tired, you do something about it. It was what scared me was that feeling of numbness, of being numb. And I'm very much a feely person. I'm very, very emotional. Good, bad, ugly, in between, very moody, very, very, very feminine, very womanly, very, very, very sensitive. A woman all day long. Not saying that all women are that way, but I'm that kind of a woman. So for me to not be able to feel nothing, man, that scared the shit out of me. I was literally feeling I think in psychology it's called disassociation, right? I was beginning to feel that kind of like, I even began to feel like I wasn't even here. I don't know if anybody ever been in a situation where you just start to feel like I'm not even, I told my daughter, I felt like I had already, I literally started to ask God, am I still alive? I started to feel, and some might say, though, those were hallucinations or delusion. No, I wasn't seeing nothing, wasn't hearing voices. I just felt so numb, so detached from my reality for just a second. It only lasted for like a split second, and I felt like I must be dead. And it ain't funny because I'm laughing now, but it wasn't funny then. And I was like, I must be dead. The next time I talked to my therapist, I told her, I said, I don't want to call no more to check on my housing. I don't want to call to check on my son as he's in the hospital. I don't want to do this anymore. And she was, of course, nervous for me. Like, what do you mean? Are you thinking about hurting yourself or someone? I said, no. What I meant was that even if they did call me, I was just done. I knew that even if they did call me, I wasn't picking up the phone. I felt like even if my son called me, I might pick up the phone. I wasn't sure. I just knew I just was done. Plus, I was in a situation where I was being psychologically abused. And I hate to say that, y'all. What the hell? Abuse. Physically, you gonna have me. As a man, yeah, you probably could do some damage. And I have a testimony that there has been a man to do damage, right, to me, as I'm a survivor of DV. But but for somebody to psychologically, I had never been with a man who put me down, talked about my weight, who called me so many derogatory names. Never had I been, and mind you, I was not sleeping with this man. This wasn't a man I was laying next to. I was couch surfing on his couch. And many times, ladies, if you don't hear nothing else I'm saying, many times I thought, well, maybe I should just give him some. Maybe if I should just sleep with him, he'll ease up off the pressure. He'll leave me alone. He won't fuck with me. He won't pick with me. He'll be happy. I'll make him happy while I'm here so he won't be mean to me, right? And it never happened because every time I thought about it, he would do or say, I'm just telling the truth, y'all. He would do or say something that would give me, as the young folks say, give me the ick. And I say, okay, and I look up to the ceiling and say, okay, God, I see you. Thank you. God was like, we ain't gonna let you do that. Okay, my guardians was like, and so that was avoided. But I would feel, I mean, it was probably the worst situation I had ever been in with a man, because it's one thing for a person to exploit, use, and then they go on about the business. You go on, you may boohoo cry a little bit, but it's over. Because there was times, in other words, let's just say I date a guy in the future, right? And now I'm in a situation, if it don't work out, it just don't work out. Yeah, I might be a little bit sad for 24 hours, if that. Okay? And then I'm moving on with life, right? That part. But when you're in a situation where you have been convinced, spiritually or otherwise, that you have nowhere else to go, that every other place is dangerous for you to go. You know how people tell you, hey, this is the best thing you got going on, and you begin to, even if you don't consciously begin to believe it, subconsciously you begin to believe it. A lot of women begin to believe the lie that the enemy has told them, and even the thing that they tell themselves, right? Because the circumstances look like it, because situations look like it, and it really looked like you'll never get out of that situation. So you're like, well, maybe it is true. Maybe it is my fault. Maybe it is, and it wasn't until I realized, wait a minute, my situation could have happened to anybody, whether they had babies by their husband and was married and they were in love. A crisis could happen. Anything could have happened. My situation could have happened to anybody. Because the truth is, I didn't lose my place because I didn't pay the rent. That's not what it was at all. I'll give the guys the details later if you really, really feel like you need it. Just kidding. I'm over it, right? I'm over it. I'm done. But my point is, it wasn't because of finances, but psychological. I'm telling you, a lot of people get stuck indoors and stuck outside because they can't get past what's in their mind, what goes through their mind on a daily freaking basis. I'm telling you the truth. If you could just get over your own mind. I had to get over my own mind when I was at that man's house. Yes, it was hard. Yes, there was times I wanted to punch him in the throat, at least in the spirit. There was times where I didn't know what to do. There was times where I said, oh man. And a lot of people say, oh, why don't you go to a shelter? I was so much in fear of going to a shelter because most of the shelters that they have, I said this before, that were out there, they were specifically for people who were drug people and people who did prison time. And the programs was designed for them. And I didn't have that. So I didn't have that as proof. Like, when people getting out of prison, like, okay, and they house them, that wasn't my thing. Then the domestic violence shelters at the time, whether it was through the pandemic or not, and keep in mind I had my van, so I stayed in my van because when it comes to the DV survivors, that's a whole nother different type of personality. None of the women in there trust each other because they got trust issues from what happened to the trauma and the drama and that PTSD. So now you're dealing with a whole nother monster, right? So what I had to learn how to do was to protect myself as best as I could. So in the meantime, as I was homeless, I picked up van life. Just going back for a second so you guys can kind of see where, and then when my van was impounded or taken away, this particular man said, well, come on in here. Now, mind you, I've known this man for 15 years, but you don't never know nobody until you live with them, right? So all of that facading and me pushing him away and keeping him at a distance, when I look back over it, why did you keep him from a distance? You don't never have to know, ladies, the exact reason why you feel funny or strange around a person, right? You just feel something is off. Remember that something felt off is the red flag. Okay. So I kept him at a distance. But again, when it came down to it, I was in need. And surely I got family. A lot of us don't want to go. It wasn't pride that I didn't want to go. I had one sister to say that I would have to cut my nails in order for me to go and live with her. That's what she said, y'all. I love her to pieces, but that's what she said. She said, well, in order for you, because she didn't want me to be an influence to her daughters. Her daughters maybe start rocking her nails, or her husband, and issues with y'all know what it is. And I would tell, she knows, bless her heart. So certain women and husbands, and look at me as a vibrant woman, and people know I'm in the business, and I didn't want to be around nobody and their husband. Okay, I know, nah, no, Basilio, no, hell no. I know that. No, especially me in that situation I was in, I could have smiled at somebody's husband a little too long, 2 seconds longer, and they think, oh, or they smile at me for that matter, or them being genuinely sorry. What if one of my sister's husbands say, "Dang, sister-in-law, I'm sorry you going through it." I didn't want the sister getting jealous because now the husband is really showing genuine compassion as he should, right? You get what I'm saying? So I did not want it to stir the pot more than what, so I didn't go to family, right? That's that. Didn't go to family, but now we're here, right? Now we're here. And it's been a long journey and I'm still in recovery. In fact, I'm supposed to speak to my therapist yesterday. I speak to her every week. We used to speak like every other week. I'm like, no, I'm gonna need you at like on a daily basis. And she's really good. She's really good with helping me, reminding me of boundaries, of setting them, reminding me that the hardest part is over, reminding me that the first step again was accepting what was, and knowing that no matter how you react to what you have to accept, you will survive. I survived. I survived. In fact, I'll close with this. I went to my grandbaby's birthday party, a few days ago, right? And me having my own place was my grandbaby's birthday present to him, because I couldn't wait. I got cookies sitting in the freezer, so I can't wait to bake him some cookies, because that was my thing. I kept telling my therapist, in tears rolling down my face, anybody that asked me, I said, I just can't wait to be in my place to bake for my grandbaby. Like, I just wanted to bake and play and put movies on the projector and watch, movies and just be normal. And so, man, and so I'm here. I'm here. Jesus, I'm here. I am here. And nobody, no devil in hell, no devil on earth, or dark energy or dark forces can take away what God has given me. They didn't give it, they can't take it away. My joy, my peace, my life, they cannot be taken away. They can't manipulate me out of it. They can't con me out of it. They can't exploit me out of it. They can't trick me out of it. They can't guilt trip me out of it. A lot of it was guilt that I lived. They can't guilt trip me about my stuff. They can't say, oh, well, you know, they can't. They they can't, and I know they will try. And who is the they? I know you're like, okay, who are we talking about? Sometimes you got family, sometimes you got who you thought was your friends to make you like even that man says, you know how they are, I wasn't, if any, I was the only one really there for you. What I love knowing about me, y'all, is that I'm a woman of faith. I'm a faith-based woman. At my core, I know that God uses vessels and God uses people. And I also know that the word says all things work together for the good for those that love the Lord and are called according to his ordained purpose, and which I am. So therefore, I know that even though it felt like shit, I wouldn't be in that crap for long. And so nobody could manipulate me forever. You may have been able to manipulate me and guilt trip me for about a good year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Okay. About 20 years, even about 30 years. I'm 48. You probably could have manipulated me all of my freaking life. But as I sit here in my kitchen in the name of Jesus, those days are over. If I don't want to go, I'm not going. If I don't want to talk to you, I ain't talking to you. If I don't answer the phone, like my phone just rang 3 times as I was sitting here recording, not just as swoop. I forgot to put the do not disturb. Because if I want to sit up in my apartment and not open up the door, except for the maintenance man, if they coming in here to, finish up whatever little stuff they may need to do, or the manager, you get what I'm saying? No, I ain't got to answer to nobody. No more. No more. Call me a bitch. Call me, oh, she thinks she all that. I am. I am. I am. And so are you. At the end of the day, if you don't start thinking that you are all of that, by God, because God designed you and that you have a purpose, if you don't start believing that you are special to not go through what you're going through, and you are the only one that can bring your own self up out of it. God, all through the Bible, all through motivation, all through philosophy, all through even science, it tells us the ability that man and women have to be a better person, to be an extraordinary human being. It teaches you, life teaches you, books on it. They got books on it, they got teachings on it, they got meditations on it, they got all kinds of things that teach you. They got the 4 agreements, they got the law of attraction, they got 48 laws of power, they got all this stuff, right? How to win and influence people, yada yada yada. You got all these motivational speakers, you got all of this extra stuff going on, right? You got enough in your arsenal to be the best that you can be, and believe that you do not deserve it. And even if you're in your karma, which I believe I was, parts of it, some of the stuff was my fault. Let's be real. But God ain't fixing to punish me for a lifetime. Sometimes God will punish you, if you will, y'all, for those that believe, or spank you for 6 months, 6 days, 6 minutes, or 6 hours. And you will be like, well, no, I think I need the spanking to last. Mine's lasted 6 years when God said, just 6 months. Because I can't tell, anybody that knows me knows this has been the longest, but I lost me. I lost faith in me. I listened to other people telling me what I couldn't do. Oh, you ain't gonna be able to get that. You ain't go. Oh, they don't do them programs no more. Oh, that's for this and this and that and the third. You have your chance once. You ain't gonna get it again. Some of this stuff only come. There was a therapist that I was talking to, and she told me, and I was expressing something. You got to test them out and find your right one. Well, this particular therapist, she said that I was telling her, yeah, I just want to be able to get, anything, any program. And she said, well, unfortunately, yeah, from what I know, there's nothing out there for, unfortunately. When she said that, I got on the phone and changed therapists, because I was like, no, 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 no. I need somebody to believe. I need you to touch and agree with me a little bit. Even if you don't believe it, I don't need you to plant not the tiniest seed in my bucket or my plant bucket. I need you to be, even if you don't believe, I need you to be like, well, anything's possible. She didn't give me that. She gave me, well, according to what I heard. And she didn't even, so now you're getting information from what you heard. You don't even know it for sure, for yourself, right? Well, according from what I heard, I'm sorry, they don't do that anymore. So yeah, you just got to work on you. I said, okay, thank you. Click. Got back on the hotline or whatever, and went down the list according to my insurance and said, can I change therapists? I need somebody that's with me on this journey. I need you to be passionate about your job, and I need you to hear me out, give me the suggestions, help me with these freaking boundaries, you know what I'm saying, and help and believe with me. As long as it's not a danger to myself or to somebody else, I need you to believe that one day I'm going to be in my own apartment baking cookies for my grandbaby. I need you to touch and agree with me, because I ain't got no friends. I don't think my sisters are for me like that, therapist. I'm going to need my therapist to be that for me. Just for this 1 hour session, I'm going to need you to believe that I'm going to be in my kitchen baking cookies for my grandson. And when I spoke to my therapist and gave her like that, she said, okay. She said, I believe. And ever since then, this woman, she wasn't a tough cookie. She was very mild. She say, the thing she told me was, be the squeaky wheel. Pick up that phone again and don't stop until you get results. She goes, I'm in the business of saying that. She goes, I'm in the business of knowing that whether it's governmental help, whether it's help period, whatever type of whatever you need, be the one that get on somebody's nerves so much to where they're like, I just got to get her out of my hair. Come on, that kind of thing. Do not be afraid is what I'm really saying, y'all. Forever needs to hear this sweet testimony. Accept what is. Accept what you feel about what is. That's why there's therapy and psychiatrists and, of course, God. Accept what is. You survived it before. You'll survive the feelings of it. You'll survive the mental of it, right? And take your time going through the process of accepting it, right? Take your time. Okay, I accept it little bit by little bit. I can accept this, but I'm not ready to accept that. And that's cool, right? Whenever you're ready. For me, it took me time. There's some people out there homeless, been homeless for 20 some years, 30 years, whatever the case may be. I know them personally because they haven't gotten to that place of full on accepting, but nothing will come to pass the way you want it to until you can accept it. Doesn't mean you like it. Doesn't mean you're accepting. Doesn't mean, you're accepting what that other person did and what they did and like it's your fault. No, you're just accepting that, hell, okay, I'm here now. Now, how do I work to get out of here? Now, who do I team up with? How do I become a team player, so to speak, which is something I don't think I am. I'm very independent in the way that I move. Very, very, always have been. So my biggest fear with accepting was letting my great grandmother down, who was dead and gone. But I was afraid that she would be, shining down from heaven, as they say, going, how did you lose this? Because she taught me to be independent. And I didn't, and I began to feel guilty because I was living with, or staying, not living with, but staying with a man off and on who basically not to where even my mental independence was being tested. And this wasn't a man that was 24/7, 24/7, what's it called, 7 days a week, mean and hateful to me. A lot of women get stuck because guess what? Some of these men are nice and giving and generous. A lot of these women are getting sugar daddies, which is a whole nother topic, getting men to do for them. Okay, he might do this and pay your bills and help you with that. But is he doing it with the love of the Lord? Or is he doing it because, well, let me do this and now I feel like I owe you or own you? You owe me for this, that, and the other. When you're thinking somebody doing out the kindness of their heart, no such thing. No, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. No such thing. Forgive me for my awakening in this and coming out of naivety. Nobody on this planet, myself included, is doing something because of the kindness of their heart. You do get something out of it. It just depends on what it is and how it's done and how people go about getting it. So again, it's an amazing journey that I've been on. But again, start accepting what is, because that's the only way you're going to be able to move forward, even while it hurts, even while you're in pain, even when you feel like you're going crazy and cuckoo. Even if you do have delusions and hallucinations, those things don't last forever. But if you keep suppressing what is, you'll suppress so much you won't make progress. And I believe that all of us are born with a purpose, a beautiful purpose to live your life more abundantly and live it beautifully, So you can't let circumstances, situations, but primarily people get in your head and tell you what you can't do and who you not and what you can't become just because of your circumstances. You got to be I will say this till the wheels fall off. It is the company you keep while you're going through the streets. But seriously, literally and figuratively, it is the company you keep. It is the company you keep, even if that company is just yourself. It is the company you keep. Don't be afraid to tell the therapist, I've been having thoughts, my self-esteem to the curb. I don't think I love myself like I should. Whatever it is, to thy own self be true. To thy own self be true. And in order for you to be true to yourself, you have to know yourself, get to know yourself. This is why I think I'm sitting in this apartment, is because I realized being with that man, number one, I had always had my own. I was in foster care, but I had always had my own. As soon as I turned 18, I had my place a week later. A week later, I was a phone sex operator in Hollywood at 18 years old. A legal job. I was working. Okay, it ain't ideal, but it was a job and I had my own place. You get what I'm saying? I was independent. I wasn't caught up with no man at 18. I wasn't caught up with somebody trafficking me. I wasn't caught up with no PIM. You know what I mean? I wasn't caught up because I remembered my grandmother's teachings. She said, I don't care what you do. Have your own. A man ain't shit. She said that too. I just didn't want to tell nobody. She used to tell me that, but that's neither here nor there. Because I really don't believe all men are, y'all. Some, most. Okay, 98 point no. But yeah. And the other thing was, have your own, and don't go to jail. Don't go to prison. That was her thing. And I think I'm 48. I ain't been there yet. But that independent thing really threw me, and it made me where what's sad about it is because I didn't really ask for help from the right people when I needed it. That's another key point. If you need the help, go to the right people, right sources to ask for the help, which is usually the programs designed and that are set in place. Which I'll come back later on and talk about it. There are, I'm sure, in any state or country, or state and country, whoever's looking at me from other spaces and places, there are places where you can get help specific to your needs. Stop listening to people telling you, oh, you can, there ain't no help. The government this. Stop listening to people. If y'all don't hear nothing else I'm saying, stop listening to other people telling you what can't be done. Oh my God. And I'll close with that. Stop listening to other people, accept what is, and then go find the resources, research online, type it in, scroll it in, whatever, the resources, the legitimate legal resources to get you where you got to get to, step by step. But when you talk to just regular people, you're going to hear everything. You're going to hear it from their perspective. You're going to hear it from their drawn out excuses, sad stories, bitterness, anger, jealousy that they got in them. You ain't going to hear it played out the way it ought to be played out. You go to the professionals, people that ain't got nothing to lose because it's their job. And even in that, you got to be careful. Just like I said about that therapist, and I had another therapist who was extremely aggressive with me. She was extremely thug. She was like a straight gangster, a straight thug. And every time I talked to that woman, she gave me a panic attack. It wasn't until I got to my third therapist. Yes, third, y'all. You got to go down. Hey, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. I used to be a telemarketer, and we would go down a long list, a call list, right? And people would answer them phones. Sometimes it'd be disconnected numbers. Sometimes it'd be whatever, right? And yet we still had to crash out those numbers. So I'm used to going down a physical list. That didn't work. Check. Tried that. Put a little note next to it. Wasn't the right. We should write a note. She was too aggressive. You know what I mean? And kept going. Okay, this one's just right. Just like, was it Hansel and Gretel? Or no. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I kept going down. This one's too soft and, lackadaisical or just lazy about it. This one over here is just too aggressive and hey. And I remember, I never forget one time that my old therapist, and I only had her for 2 weeks, and she got on the phone with me and she said to me, I tried to call you. Do we have a problem? I was like, oh my God, this is my therapist? You're supposed to help me? Oh, no. Anybody can get a degree. Anybody can get a license. Anybody. Now, I know how that sounds, y'all, but you get me. Anybody can pass the test. Let me just say that. Anybody can pass the test. But there'll be other tests after you still got to stick to the curriculum in which allowed you to pass the test. You don't go veering off and now you're going to be a thug. Now I'm in here. I can just act and be however. No. Character, ethics, all that good jazz. Anywho, I'm done, you guys. One look, I've been looking at this tea for the longest. For those that saw me make it, this is it. It's so yummy. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I know this is a long one, but I had to express it. One love kisses, you guys. We're hearing me, see me in the next one. I'm going to go freshen up my face because I got, my makeup is melting. If that makes sense. And I got to go fix my face and get ready to log in to work. From where? Your house, Jay. Yay! Good job. And good job to you guys for just tuning in and listening. I hope you got something out of it because you can win, man. You can win this thing. I promise you can. You can win it. You ain't even got to believe in the same God I believe in. But you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. Gotta. Anyways, I'm out of here. One love kisses. You'll hear me and see me in the next one. Bye for now.